Well, welcome, 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 everyone. You have just logged in and you're starting to watch this expert presentation entitled College Success Tips and Application Writing Tips. This will be broadcast to you today, and we're excited to have you. We're glad you're joining us today. I am Derek, and I will be your moderator for this presentation. This session will be recorded and posted on the event site for you to return to watch again and again if you would like. This will also be helpful to those individuals who are not able to make it to this live stream. The Fresno College Night event site will remain active for the full fall season so that you can return at any time to watch this presentation. The session is presented by Zoom webinar mode. Attendees are automatically muted to avoid background noise. You can participate in this presentation by asking questions. To do so, just use the interaction tools found at the bottom of your Zoom window. You will see an icon labeled Q&A. Please click on that to open up a new window so that you are all set to use the function and are able to see questions which are answered during this webinar. We'll be monitoring the Q&A stream mostly ask questions, and they'll ask by the presenters to the presenters, and that will be handled basically at the end of this presentation. And today we are honored to have two experts on this topic, Gurdeep Abair and Emily Slater. They will be handling the presentation part of this. And on behalf of the Fresno County Virtual Fair Night, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our presenters. Thank you for your time, and thanks for being present for this important topic. Let us now begin.
Awesome. Can you guys see my screen? Derek, you'll have to tell me.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, good evening, everyone. We're so excited you're here. Hi, Gurdeep.
Hi. How you doing, Emily?
I'm good. I wish we could see all of your faces because this is the best part of college night is talking to students. And I don't get to see any of you.
I know. I missed that part as well. This is definitely different, but you know what? We're going to make it happen and we're going to get through it.
We are going to get through it. So we are here tonight to share college success tips. We're going to talk a little bit about application writing as well. This is the big application writing time. You guys are working on your college applications, maybe writing samples or essays. So we're going to talk a little about that. But you've got two pros here. Did we say what we do, Gurdeep?
I don't think so. You want to start?
Yeah, let me start. Sorry. Again, I'm Emily Slater. I'm the Director of College Relations and Outreach for Fresno City College. So our staff are the ones that go into your high schools. And of course, now we're going to be seeing you through Zoom or Teams. And we're the ones that will go in and help you with all of your enrollment steps for Clovis or Fresno City or any of the colleges in State Center Community College. But of course, we work with our four-year partners as well, so we're happy to answer any questions you might have tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. And I'm Gurdeep Abair, and I serve as one of the Deans of Student Services at Clovis Community College. And I think Emily's already kind of gone through and told you what we do, and definitely miss the face-to-face interaction. Both now and when we're at each of the sites. However, our teams are amazing, and we promise that we will help get you to college.
Yes, so let's get started. So we answered who we are and why we're here to help. This is our thing. We love doing college admissions. I used to work for a four-year university, Fresno Pacific, and I love working with students. For us, especially at the community college, which is open access, and we can help all kinds of students join and meet their educational goals. This is huge for us. So this is why we're here tonight. But the other part of that is, we want to give you those simple tips. We watch our students every year, a brand new class, transition to college, And we see kind of the same thing over and over again. And Gurdeep and I were talking, and we've seen a lot of student panels where our college students, give advice for incoming students, and they kind of say the same things. And so putting together a presentation on college success tips for us was pretty simple because we've been around, we've seen a lot of students transition, and so this is the kind of help that we want to give you tonight. So it's going to all seem very simple, but it is important, and these are the things that we see from students over and over again. Sorry, so let's talk tip number 1. So if you haven't heard the term before, adulting starts today. One of the first things you're going to hear all the time is that college is so different from high school in that we expect you to take responsibility for your education. So knowing when deadlines are, knowing the catalog, you don't have, that counselor or that teacher to remind you, oh, hey, this is the deadline coming up to register, or this is when your homework is due. College is such a different thing for students in that sense. And so today is the day you're going to take control of your education. I would even start with the college admissions process. I don't know if you agree, Gurdeep, but really make sure that you are doing things that is going to, ensure your success. So for every college, there's usually a freshman success class. Gurdeep, you can remind me what it is for your college. For us,
ours is INTDS 50, and really, even if you were to go to a UC or CSU, you're always going to have this freshman orientation, and it's not like what you would do online, but it'll be virtual this time, maybe, hopefully not, but it's really getting to know the campus, seeing what it's like, interacting with students, interacting with professors and staff there. You kind of get to know the lay of the land of wherever you're going. Highly, highly recommend it, especially closer to before the semester begins. It just makes you feel much more comfortable on your campus.
And our last thing is finally participate in new student, welcome events or orientation. It's different for every college, but I guarantee you that pretty much all colleges and universities hold an orientation event usually before school starts. And those are so helpful for students. The primary purpose of those is to help you transition, to make sure you know where all the services are, how to use the technology, especially when we're all online right now. Those events are really helpful. Ours is called RAM Ready, and even though we get a ton of students, there's still so many new students that don't attend that event. And then come the first week of school, they're asking those questions that we just answered in that event. And we want to say, oh, if you had just attended, we would have helped you there. So make sure that you're starting off on a good foot by attending those events.
Yes, here we are. Okay, so this one, we get asked this a lot. What is the difference between high school and college? Well, there's a lot of differences. Obviously, it's the location, if you're not going to be local, if you're going to plan on going somewhere else. But I think the other important thing that Emily mentioned earlier, we talked about adulting. It definitely is at another level when you go into college. But that's part of the excitement about being there. Now, in high school, you probably have mandatory attendance. At college, it may look a little different depending on who your professor is. So that's why it's going to be really important that you always get to know those professors and get to know what their policies are, because they're going to vary. No one is sitting there going down a roll sheet all the time, every day, checking off if you're there or if you're not. I mean, basically what you put in is what you're going to get out. So if you're ready to do this, then it's always good to show up. In high schools, you hear bells. I can guarantee you there are no bells going off unless it's trying to tell you what time it is on your campus. I mean, I know Fresno City's always had an amazing bell that goes off, but that's more of a traditional thing. I think the other big thing, I know I'm a proud graduate of actually Fresno City College, so community college for me was the best thing ever. Came from Selma, and for me that was a small town, a small high school, an awesome high school, loved the Bears, but when I got to Fresno City, for a moment, I thought, oh my gosh, this is huge. This is big. This is going to be quite an adjustment. And it was. So the size of the campus may matter, but like if you decide to go to one of our other sister colleges or a smaller private college, the size is going to be different there as well. Grades, I think one of the things I realized is that at high school, you have maybe homework every single week, right? Or you may have an exam every other week. In some college courses, you may only have like 4 homework assignments. You may only have 2 tests, but your entire grade depends on that. So I can't stress enough to just mentally start to prepare yourself to really dig in and take a look at what each professor is providing you. And that kind of goes back to making sure you attend those orientations. It will tell you a whole lot about the campus that you're going to go to. The one thing I know that a lot of students love is when you get to college, guess what? Your parents can't necessarily call and say, hey, how is Johnny doing? And at this point, you're on your own. And it's up to you to communicate whatever you'd like to communicate with your parents. As a mom, I hope my daughter's still communicating with me on everything, but it may not happen. So those are some of the differences. And again, it does depend on the college that you select, but look forward to it. Be encouraged by the fact that it's going to look a little different, and you really are starting to take control of your actions, your decisions, things that you want to accomplish while you're in college.
And Gertie, Tim pointed out, thank you, Tim, that our high school column and our college column are the same. Gertie pointed out plenty of differences, but maybe that's another tip. Check your PowerPoints, check your homework before you do it.
And guess what? He actually, is it Tim?
Tim, thank you, Tim.
Way to go, Tim. You are the winner chicken dinner of our you paid attention to what's on the screen. Well done. All right. So that's good. I'm impressed.
So the big difference, Tim, was that everything Gertie bred on the right, it's the opposite for college. So thanks for picking up on that. And yes, we can make sure that these presentations are available afterwards. So we will fix that, of course, before we send out the link. So tip number 2, again, this seems very simple, but go to class, get involved. I know in my own experience, when you go to college and you have all of this freedom, right? You know, we talked about that freedom that you have in college, that no one's, you know, your teacher isn't watching out for you and making sure you're doing this and making sure you're doing that. Sometimes with that freedom comes that idea of, well, maybe I don't need to go to class. And you know, for me, I was working 2 jobs when I was in college. I was tired. I worked at a video store. No one knows what those are anymore. But I got home, you know, at 1 in the morning. I was tired. And so sometimes I skipped class. And I'll tell you, not a good idea. I know. And I borrowed notes from people. You know, I'll tell you, I got pretty good grades in college, but my worst grades actually weren't in the hardest classes. They were in the classes that I just needed to be there. And I didn't learn that lesson early enough. So I have watched a lot of freshmen like myself make that mistake of feeling that freedom or letting other priorities take over, you know, and it becomes this thing where, you know, you've got to make those adulting choices like we talked about before. But of course, get involved. This is an amazing time in your life. Join a club, join study groups, all those kind of things to build connections with each other. That's going to not only enrich your college life, but it's going to help you when you need help.
And I think the other thing, Emily, I know one of the questions is, how do we balance all of this? So for those of you who are currently seniors, this is what I would recommend. I'd recommend you start practicing time management to a whole nother level if you haven't done it before. Because if you do plan to be out on your own and you do plan to take a full load of classes and you do plan on working, some of that may look similar to what you have now to a certain degree, but keep in mind in college, you get to decide when you want to take these classes. Some classes go late into the evening up until 10, some start as early as 7 a.m. But I think if you can start to work your time management, if you're not a morning person, then manage that time wisely and don't sign up for classes early on, because I can tell you, if you already know you're not a morning person, don't sign up for failure if you already know that's going to be a possible outcome. Unless you practice that during your senior year and you become that morning person, then go for it. The other question that was brought up is how many courses can you take at once? You can take up to, as well, it kind of depends on the college. So let me back up a little bit. That is something that you discuss with your counselor. If you want to be a full-time student at any of our local community colleges, 12 units is a good start. That way you're fully funded with your financial aid if you're on financial aid. But with some other colleges and universities, that may not be the case. So I wouldn't start with a big load early on, because that definitely can be challenging. You want to start strong. That would be my recommendation. Start strong, so don't overdo it.
This is a short fact for you guys, but it is so true that if students skip classes, you will increase your odds of dropping out, because it snowballs. Like once you miss one class, oh, well, now I missed that class, I missed the notes, now I didn't do well on that test. It really does snowball. And I know a student was saying, how did you balance that? And thank you, Veronica, for that question. That is a tough lesson to learn. And I literally had a teacher come to my work and say, I'm concerned for you. And that doesn't always happen. And so it is learning to say no. It is figuring out what your priorities are. Because I know that I was someone, I didn't have any money growing up. I needed to work to pay for insurance and my car and all of that stuff. And you have to figure out what your priorities are. If you're going to school, if you can, go to school and you be a student and try not, work the least amount that you can. So those are things that you can work out. And of course, there's people to help. And that brings me to our next slide. Gurdeep, you want to take this one?
Yeah, ask for help. I mean, that hands down, you just are going to have to do it. I know a lot of us like to be independent and say that we are going to handle this on your own. But I think one of the biggest mistakes I've seen lately is students who are like, oh no, I just follow this sheet, or I'll follow my friend's recommendation of classes. Now, you may want to talk to your friend about maybe a particular professor that you want to take, but not necessarily your classes. Please stick to communicating with your counselor and really get to know that person. Get to know them to the point where you can go in and see them as much as possible. The other thing is office hours. I have students sometimes who wait till after midterms when they're not doing well. And I ask them, by the way, did you go in and talk to your professor? They're like, well, no. Well, it's not too late, but it sure is late. I would say start early if you can do that interaction, because that way the professor also is like, you know what, this person's serious about this class. So that communication is going to be important. The tutorial center. So I think sometimes people hear the word tutoring and they're like, okay, I'm not smart enough to get this. The students that come to our tutorial center are the ones who are trying to keep their A's and B's. They go there because they want to maintain their grade. So don't wait until the D's and F's come through. Get in there soon and check out what support services are at your college. Those are essential because they're going to have everything from help with psychological services to food pantries. I mean, there's a plethora of support services. And again, go to that orientation at your college, and I bet you they'll go through everything.
All right, I think that we covered some of this, but again, when we do student panels, all of the current college students are telling incoming students it's all about time management, because again, making sure that you're studying for your tests when you need to, learning to say no. If you guys end up going to a 4-year, if you're living in a dorm, I experienced this, and that midnight rolls around and they're like, let's go to Taco Bell or wherever they want to go. It's really easy to kind of ditch what you're working on and say, yeah, let's go. But those are the things that you've got to learn to be an adult and say, hey, you know what, I have got to finish this assignment, or I've got to study for this test. Put your schoolwork first. That's the important thing that we wanted to say here. And I know you guys have been asking about calendars or schedules and how you build those, we have counselors that will work with you to help you put together a schedule that works. Gurdeep was talking about, we recommend that students go to school full time. And when you go to school for full time, you have to account for not just the time that you're in class, but also that study time and that class time that you have outside of the actual classroom. That's really important.
Whoops, next one, sorry, why a little, okay, financial aid process.
Here
we go. Yes, good. So financial aid. So here's the thing about financial aid. We hear a lot about students who don't apply because they feel that they may not be eligible. Here's my advice. Complete the application anyway. I know it's not a fun application, but if there is some advice that I could lay down with you right now, that would be please complete the financial aid application. I can tell you now with community colleges most recently, if you just complete the application, even though you may not be eligible, you can still get 2 years of community college for free. You just have to complete the form. Now, for those of you who need to complete the financial aid application and need help, please reach out to the financial aid offices at each of the campuses, because a lot of times you require different documentation. Stay in contact with them so that way you can complete it, and complete it soon enough, because the earlier you do it, the more likely you are to receive additional financial support.
We have students that are asking how can they, as a junior, start preparing for college. And that kind of tied with financial aid is a little, it's a kind of a secret with community colleges. And I only say secret because a lot of people don't know about it. But you can take college classes as a high school student at a community college for free. So that is a huge thing. Even though you can't start your college admissions process, you can start taking classes now and get that college credit and kind of already get your feet wet as well. So that way, you're making that transition to full-time college a lot easier. So think about doing that. It's called high school enrichment for Clovis and Fresno City. There's other community colleges that offer it as well, but definitely think about that as a junior, because that will really help you out.
Mm-hmm. Plus, it'll give you a little idea of what the college classroom will be like as well too. So that has become very, very popular, especially now that we're virtual. If you want more information about that, again, please connect with your local college that you want to go to, specifically your community college. Okay, application writing tips. What type of application are we talking about, Emily?
So there's many different colleges. Obviously, California's got kind of a 4-college system. You have your University of California system, your California State University, community colleges, which Gurdeep and I represent, and you also have your private schools. For the University of California, and these are for, I see we have a lot of juniors and sophomores in here. Those, as you're starting to think about college admissions next year, the UC system does have 4 personal insight questions that you're going to be writing. The California State and California Community Colleges do not have a writing sample or an essay, but many private schools do. Private colleges like Fresno Pacific, Pepperdine, things like that, they do have writing samples or essays. So that's why we're going to talk about application writing tips in a second. And of course, apply for scholarships. And with those scholarship applications, a lot of them are going to be asking you for, some sort of essay, personal statement, writing sample. So that's why we're going to be talking about these tips tonight.
So one of the first tips is we've gotten very used to this and all the wonderful letters that you use to communicate. But let me tell you, when it comes down to writing out that essay, please do not put in BTWIK or whatever all the other acronyms are. Let's stick to write it out like you were writing out a full-blown essay, because they look at everything in that essay. You want to tell a story, and I think that's something that I think sometimes people, or I've seen students forget to do, but really start to take an inventory. What is it about my life that I've experienced? What are some things that I've done in my life? What are some things that I've done to serve the community, my local church maybe, whatever the case may be, but write out all those things. Start now and just keep a journal somewhere of accomplishments. And that way, when it's time for you to sit down and write out that essay, you can go back there and say, oh my gosh, I forgot I did this. I forgot, oh, this is what I did in 4-H, or this is what I did in my Interact Club, or whatever the different organizations that you might be a part of. And then that will help you outline your ideas and organize your thoughts. You might end up rewriting this several times. Definitely have someone read through it. Have more than one person read through it. Have a friend read through it. Have a counselor read through it. Have a teacher read through it. If you know someone who works at a college, have them read through it. And don't wait till the last minute to write it. You definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah. But I will say, especially for scholarships, do not be afraid of the essay or any kind of writing that you have to do, because so many students are scared off by those and they don't do it. And that leaves those scholarships. Sometimes we see this where scholarships, they're there and they are ready to give money to a student, and students don't apply. And that's just the craziest thing. But don't be afraid of doing those writing samples. $1,000, $500, even $200. That's worth, an hour of your time. So definitely don't be afraid.
And tell your story. That is the big thing. Do not hesitate to tell your story. It's the reader who is looking through it. It's not like there's going to be 100 people. But I used to work for our foundation for our community colleges, and we did a lot of scholarships. And it would be the scholarship applications where the story really came out. Not just I did this, and this, but what did you get out of it? How did it make you feel? How did it make others feel? So you got to really kind of get into your feelings with that. All right, looks like we have a lot of questions. So ready to take these on?
Yeah, let's do it. I saw a lot. See, I opened my big mouth about high school enrichment. So many questions about that, which is fantastic. So sophomores, yes, you can participate in high school enrichment. Take a look. You can go to either one of our websites, just search high school enrichment. It'll take you to a page with all kinds of information and what kind of GPA you need and what's the process. You can do that as a sophomore, junior, or a senior. So as long as you haven't already graduated from high school, you can take a college class for free. And the good thing about those, and we did see a student in there, I'm not going to say AP versus taking a college class, but I will say, with AP, it's not always guaranteed that they will, even if you do get a 3, 4, or 5, it's not always guaranteed that will transfer to, a UC or the college of your choice. Whereas transferring college credit, depending on what you're taking, usually is more of a guaranteed thing. So I'm a fan of taking college classes, but I was also an AP student, so I'm not going to knock that as well. So thank you for that question. That was a great question.
The other question we've had here is about, do you recommend going to community colleges first, then transferring on? Well, you're talking to two very pro community colleges. That is the route I took, just because a couple things. It was much more affordable. In fact, right now, like we mentioned earlier, it's free. You're going to get the same 2 years that you're going to get at a local or a UC or a CSU. It really just depends on what you want to do financially. I think it is the smartest decision ever. If your grades are way up there, get into the honors programs. They are phenomenal. And take a look at the tag agreements, meaning that you can you can actually sign a contract with us to specifically transfer into certain colleges and universities. Want to take the next one?
I should have been reading. I'm reading all kinds of things. There's so many good questions
applying
here.
for scholarships, go on to the financial aid websites for the colleges that you plan on applying to, and take a look at the deadlines. The deadlines vary. I know within our district, we start applications go out October 2nd. They're due March 2nd. But you've got to go to the financial aid websites for the colleges and universities. And does it matter if you do a lot of activities? Well, there's a difference between just listing a whole bunch of activities and then actually writing about what you did within those activities. Remember I talked about what you put in that essay? Get into the meat of then how impactful were those event or those activities in clubs and organizations. Okay, you
I
got
will
the next
say,
one.
I was on a scholarship committee for many years for a very competitive scholarship. And I will say I looked more favorably on the students who did one activity, but they committed to it and they were doing it for years, versus students who did volunteer for 1 week and volunteer somewhere else for another week and kind of skipped around activities. I love those students that just picked an activity and they were loyal to it. And when you can talk passionately about anything, then it's fantastic.
So great question about what are honors programs. Honors programs are designed for students who have had very high GPAs at their high schools, and those programs are kind of work as a cohort, as a team. You kind of go through your first couple of years. You've got honors level classes. You'll have your own counselor, specific professors, and success teams kind of who support you along the way. So I know that colleges and universities have these programs through our community colleges. Each of our campuses have a program. So Reedley College, Fresno City, Madera. By the way, a shout out to Madera Community College, the newest community college in the state of California, and they're part of our district. So congrats to them.
All right, we have a ton more questions. Derek, do we have to finish by 6:30 or can we keep going if students still have questions? I'm gonna keep going until you stop me.
Okay, there you go.
There's a lot of questions about FAFSA, and that's
Ooh.
fantastic. So FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It's a federal application. So even if you plan on taking college classes out of state, that is still the application that you would turn in. The application period starts October 1st. You don't need to do that as a junior. It won't count anyway. So don't do that as a junior. Do it your senior year. So October 1st, coming very soon for the seniors in the room. And then usually you want to get that done by March 2nd. Okay, March 2nd, put it in your head. That is the date that you want to finish that, because that's the date for Cal Grant eligibility, which is huge. Cal Grants can be worth so much money depending on what institution you go to. So do not miss that deadline. If you do miss that deadline, there still is financial aid available though, and you can fill it out afterwards. But definitely, because we're ahead of the game here, put October 1st to March 2nd in your head, because that's when you want to get that done. So
for those of you
for that question.
Yes, sorry. For those of you asking the question about if you take a college course as a junior, sophomore, whatever the case may be, does it count on your college transcript? Yes, it does. Once you take a college course, it is a college course, a college grade. So don't take it for fun. Take it when you are ready and you have the time. I know some students sometimes are like, oh, I think I'm just going to take an art class. Do you realize how hard, difficult some of those art classes are? Trust me, I didn't do well in my first one.
Yeah.
First one, get it? I took it more than once. Okay.
Well, and that's a good point between AP and, high school enrichment. High school enrichment, it goes on an official transcript, whereas your AP, if you don't get, if you get a 2 or whatever on your test, that's okay. It doesn't harm you in any way. So that's definitely a pro and con there. Let's see, so many questions.
You want to take the difference between high school enrichment and dual enrollment?
I just saw that one. That was a really good one. So the only difference between high school enrichment and dual enrollment is a partnership that we have with the high school. So it's actually a college class that you're going to be taking at your high school. So you want to check with your high school counselor and see if there are any dual enrollment classes offered at your high school. Those will be taken during the day. You get high school credit and you get college credit. High school enrichment is different, where you're taking the class through the college, not at your high school, and you're going to be taking it for college credit. Sometimes your high school will give you high school credit, but it's not guaranteed like dual enrollment is. So both of them will give you college credit, so there's no kind of one or the other. They both will give you college credit. It's just, you have to see what dual enrollment classes are available at your high school. So that would be a great question for your counselor.
Okay, I'm going to type some of the answers in so you can take the next one, Emily.
Okay, perfect. Oh, let me keep going here. Ooh, there's so many questions. You guys have really good ones.
Good stuff.
Lots of dual enrollment. How will applying to schools in New York, I saw someone talking about Colorado, differ? You know, every college is going to differ. So unless you're applying for kind of a state system, you know, for Fresno City and Clovis, for example, you may be applying for Clovis, but it actually is a statewide system, and the Fresno City application looks exactly the same. But if you're going to private school, or if you're applying to Colorado State or somewhere in New York, they most likely have a different application. And so really you want to make sure you're reading the requirements very carefully. You're doing it on a computer. Gertie talked about that earlier. It's so tempting to do everything on your phone and your tablet, but do not do that. Sit yourself down at your computer and look at those college applications. Have someone read them over, because again, we take these applications very seriously. So you want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward no matter where you're applying. So that was an excellent question. Hopefully I answered that. Let me go through.
And one of the questions was, I just want to make sure I answered it. So if you took a college course during your junior year, and if you did not do well, will it impact your admissions? Not necessarily your admissions. It will depend on what college you're going to, but it won't impact, like within our community college system. Just know that that grade will stay on your college transcript.
We have a question in here about UCs, and because I don't work at UC and I haven't worked at UC, I don't want to answer that one because I don't want to say anything that's wrong. But I will say, when you guys go back into that college fair, there, for every college booth, there is a live chat option available. There is a presentation schedule available. I know for my college, I have so many staff that are ready to talk to students tonight. So when you're out of here, head to the UC booth, the one that you think you might be going to, and start chatting with their staff, or see if they have a presentation available, because you're going to get those questions answered tonight.
So one of the, oh, Derek, you're on. Are you about to kick us off? We were on a roll. Hurry, let's mute him, Emily.
Almost, guys.
Oh, we almost got
We got
him.
about 4
Sorry.
minutes left.
Okay, and then Derek, do you happen to know, are we able to still type answers in and students will get them? If we keep doing that, will those go to them? Or do you know about that?
They will be able to see this presentation in 24 hours on the site. So yes, we're going to do all this live. So yes, whatever we do here, they'll be able to see.
Very cool. Do you know if they're putting up our presentation, or do we need to give?
Yes.
Okay.
And
I will fix that slide first.
Yes.
Okay.
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 Go ahead.
I hate to cut it short. We've already run a little over time, but thank you to our expert presenters, Gurdeep, Emily. Be sure to explore our college options at our virtual college fair. Mm-hmm. We have many interactive college booths where you can watch videos, download materials, and chat live with admissions reps. You can also find that some booths have a schedule of their own live presentations. So make sure you visit the college fair today and enjoy those experiences. Unfortunately, this concludes our presentation, college success tips and application writing tips. Thank you so much to our expert panel. Remember that you can come back to the website at any time to watch this recording, and it will be posted on the event website tomorrow. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks. See us at our booth, guys.
Very good.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.